Your opinion ends where somebody else's opinion begins. Let me repeat that. Your opinion ends where somebody else's opinion begins. Let's talk about this, as it's one of the deepest keys to understanding how to expand consciousness and why consciousness is unable to expand based on those locked up opinions that create the substance of a fixed reality in which ascension is not possible. And we need to shatter that illusion in order to actually break free from these matrix constructs. So what's the nature of an opinion? First of all, let's see an opinion as a vessel of information, which is seen to be the absolute source of truth, unless the other opinion enters the scene. An opinion in and of itself is like an entity that is unable to access the totality of truth existent outside of itself. So when you adhere to a certain opinion that you yourself generate, or maybe you picked up from some external source outside of you, and you defend only that singular opinion, which you believe is the absolute truth, what immediately happens is that your mind clings to the assumption that there is no truth available outside of your own bias, that opinion is the absolute. Because of that, you develop this need to confirm and validate that particular opinion that you want to hold above any other opinion that might exist in reality. This compounds into a state of your own inner space in which you defend only the opinion and opinions that you want to see present in reality. So you're effectively creating your own simulated environment in which you polarize away from anything that doesn't align with your own opinion. And what that creates is an attack against anything that is otherwise known as the cause for integration. Any other opinion than the one that you hold would actually be the avenue to ascension. Because whatever it is that you are unwilling to integrate and to introduce as a part of the whole truth that is indeed accessible to you is going to be something that you resist and reject, packing it away into your unconscious mind, which only ends up increasing the schism or the distance between the subconscious and the conscious mind. This alone is the reason why people are unable to access higher level truths, why they're unable to unearth the root cause of their own blind spots, why wars are present on planet Earth, why people prefer to disagree over to find a common core understanding that the combination of opinions is what actually allows for the accessing of universal consciousness. Because from that highest dimensional lens and vantage point, we could see that all opinions are relevant. All opinions are important. Even if you don't want to agree with a certain opinion, there's a reason for its very existence. And a part of that is to allow you to learn the art of assimilation and integration, which is the key to conscious understanding. Another way to look at an opinion is as a source of consciousness, one lens through which you can see reality in the way that you want to see it. If you don't align with a certain opinion, you're effectively trying to block out a certain way of seeing reality, which means your mind doesn't want to turn in that particular angle, which would actually contribute to a 360-degree view of how reality is composed from the combination of all the individual perspectives and lenses through which we co-create the understanding of reality. If some opinion or some perspective exists outside of you, then that is one of the lenses through which reality is being created. And if you renounce the need for that particular opinion, perspective, or lens of awareness to exist, then you're blocking off an opportunity for consciousness to be integrated. Within the individual field, the way that this presents is through aggression, an attack against someone or something outside of you that you don't want to accept, which results in anger, frustration, resistance, and intolerance. And once you start to harbor this energy of rejecting some other opinion or lens of awareness that exists, you immediately enter a lower frequency state in your own arena of consciousness. Now, this is the main reason why people turn to judgment instead of understanding, why people find it impossible to integrate anything that exists outside of them because their ego has learned that singular tactic of just defending what it thinks it knows about reality. And this is the nature of that egoic trap of consciousness. Once your ego enters this familiar loop of repetitious thinking and behaviors to validate its own perspective and opinion, it's effectively closed off from higher level understanding. What also happens in this scenario is that not only are you unable to integrate other people's opinions and perspectives, to empathize, to come into a higher level understanding of why these other opinions and perspectives exist, and to actually derive value from either those opinions or what they allow you to experience as an integrative vessel of consciousness yourself, is you're limiting your ability to understand your own inner being and your own inner potential. What happens if you choose to close off to opinions in general is you become narrow-minded. You block off opportunities to connect to your own higher self, because one of those very unpopular opinions that you might be constantly experiencing internally is the opinion coming from your soul. The higher level opportunity to see through the eyes of oneness, to converse with Source within yourself, to see where love, unity, and deeper understanding is actually possible, where you must surrender your ego on that altar of unconditional love in order to learn how to see eye to eye through love, through the common language of your soul's communicatory strategy, through which everything can be accepted because you recognize everything serves an invaluable purpose in the universal simulation. Now, the reason why it's so difficult for people to embody that kind of universal understanding of why opinions are necessary, and also why upholding a singular set of opinions is extremely dangerous when it comes to understanding the power of consciousness, is because people don't actually want to evolve outside of their own preconditioned notions of who they are or what they think they know about reality. That knowing, that transcending your own opinions would actually lead to a more enlightened view of reality, is extremely destabilizing for that egoic identity. And so it's often the very last stage before a higher level of awakening, self-realization, and ascension that somebody feels threatened by the need to integrate external opinions, which are actually providing deeper truths about one's own nature. To begin demolishing that feeling of fixation to your own opinions, we have to begin by understanding that whatever opinions you're currently exposed to that trigger you are helping you identify the parts of your own psyche that are closed off to integration. So now let's break down what integration in this way even means. To integrate something is to take that external piece of evidence of a higher level truth and to bring it into your own state of awareness. It's to be in the state of recombination, realizing that whatever you're actually trying to reject outside of you is a long-lost part of your own being, a part of your identity, because what you're seeing outside of you is in some way a fractal of that one universal truth. There could be some opinions which you feel are lesser forms of your own judgment or your own reasoning. But by choosing to reject them, you're choosing to enter this very self-righteous state in which you think you know it all and feel that the other individuals in question need to be lowered in your mind's perspective, giving you this sense of false superiority or even false enlightenment. That is a very dangerous kind of position to embody because it does the opposite of humbling you. It brings you into a state of limiting even the opportunity to keep learning, to keep expanding, to keep seeing how you aren't really better than those others that maybe have opinions that you've already transcended away from. The opinions need to be integrated as other aspects of you that exist outside of your current positioning of awareness. These opinions need to reside comfortably in your own state of awareness once you choose to acknowledge that everybody has the right to think and feel what they want to. Everybody's called to integrate, but not everybody's going to know how to do that because everybody's ability to integrate rests on their ability to choose love. And to choose love is to choose to master the art of integration, to choose not judgment when you disagree, but to choose to understand why the clashing of opinions even exists, and why there is another opportunity to find love, even in light of resistance. The convenient strategy that most of us turn to when we feel bothered by somebody else's opinion is we want to create an enemy out of that oppositional source, because we do just that in response to the other opinion that we don't want to internalize. We choose to push away from it, seeing that that other source is entirely different from us. And in doing so, we stop seeing God in the other individual or the other source of the opinion. We stop seeing that whether that opinion is coming to us to bring us some truth that we need to internalize, or to reveal that we need to step into the higher position of truth by honoring that the other opinion has the right to coexist with our own. We need to choose that strategy in order to find a way to lovingly hold space for all opinions, all perspectives, as each one is like a facet in this diamond of universal understanding that we are all being called to understand and embody. Another way to witness this convergence of different opinions that all coexist and are meant to coexist within our own inner world as well is by seeing that we're all just witnessers of perspectives unfolding in this hall of mirrors, which is how consciousness is projecting new reactions to those opinions in reality. As you're walking through this hall of mirrors, you can see the parts of you that are equally reflected in other people, in other situations, and that would be the feeling of being validated for a certain opinion or set of beliefs that you yourself hold. It's very easy to look into the mirrors that reflect your own perception, that reveal back to your mind where it is being seen equally by other people, based on the convergence of inner values, beliefs, and common understanding. But what if you come across a certain mirror that reflects a side of reality that you're not used to seeing? Perhaps because those people housing those opinions come from a different background, from a different set of values, beliefs, or understanding about reality, or even the purpose of the human experience. As soon as you encounter that portal into another world or another soul's understanding, that's an opportunity to make sense of what consciousness is experiencing through that portal of understanding. What that's also revealing to you is how you actually react to that other world of consciousness. Because what the difference is between these opinions or different mirrors of understanding is simply frequency. It's all vibrational. It's all based on whether the energy of integration exists in that world or doesn't. Because truth, from the highest possible perspective, is simply a conglomerate of all of these different perspectives. At a certain point, that hall of mirrors converges into one multifaceted, multidimensional organism of consciousness. And from that standpoint, they're all indivisible. From that higher perspective, Source cannot judge. And we're seen through the lens of non-duality, which is a pristine view that all of consciousness must encounter this breakdown on the lower dimensional level of different opinions, different sides. However, when we enter the space of needing to clash against opinions, we forget our own divinity. And we forget that actually all opinions are part of the divine simulation. And so the first thing that we need to do as observers of consciousness is to understand that we have the power to witness this transformation of unification happening within our own inner field by choosing to see the power of individual opinions. And the first thing to think about when it comes to you as an embodiment of certain opinions that are either integrative or disunifying in nature is that the opinions that you don't let in are the opinions that you need most. The opinions that trigger you the most. The opinions that you think do not serve you or other people. The opinions that evoke deep anger, aggression, or hostility within you are the opinions that you need to allow to sink in by creating a safe space for you to understand and ask the deeper question of why are they coming up? Why are they raising resistance when really they're meant to arouse the opportunity to find love within your own heart and to resolve that inner aggression, which is meant to be transmuted into allowing, acceptance, and even the permission for yourself to coexist with that particular perspective. The skill that we're revealing here, the art of integration, goes well beyond simply choosing to ignore or allow certain opinions to exist that you don't normally embody. This is a skill of actually understanding the greater importance of your mind's ability to create opinions. As soon as you allow yourself to embody new opinions, you are expanding your own consciousness. And you actually have the ability to generate new opinions whenever you choose to, because that is the way that you actually choose to embody the lens of the witness, the omniscient observer, through which every single opinion holds value, and every opinion can be used to reflect even more truth and unity in the reality within and outside of you, as that's the ultimate purpose of a human being as one vessel of that individuated awareness. Now let's bring it to the microcosmic level and explain how this very concept is also the key to healing and self-realization. So whatever opinions you've already formed about yourself are obviously opinions that are also compounding from other people's perspectives of you. And all of the pain and suffering that we experience in reality has to do with opinions crystallizing into unchanging truths. These are those same mental biases, just forming a certain matrix of internal belief that we hold on to in this resolute manner, which actually ends up creating that suffering. It's the rigidity of thinking an opinion is the ultimate truth that makes us stay locked up in the prison of our own belief system. And if we don't think that we have the power to change that, then there's actually a higher level opinion taking over, which makes us believe we can't change our own preconceived opinions. Now, opinions are actually entirely fluid. They're like these little bubbles, thought forms, that are only real for as long as you choose to maintain this little vessel of information, keeping it intact through your own beliefs. As soon as you introduce a higher level opinion, for instance, that you don't actually need to reject other opinions that exist in reality, or that when people judge you or see you in a certain unfavorable light, that is actually their opinion as opposed to a form of judgment that you need to respond to in a likewise judgmental manner. You free yourself because you allow those opinions to impart a very limited energetic charge on your own inner condition. Once you start understanding that opinions are these volatile structures that hold only as much value or meaning as you want to allow them to impart on you, you can see opinions as part of this gradient spectrum of awareness, which does not need to trigger you, it does not need to affect you, bring you down, disempower you, and actually all these opinions can come into a state of unified awareness, where you simply allow them to exist without having them create any kind of significant effect or limitation onto you. In this way, you're actually building the most resolute energetic boundary that you possibly can. By mastering the fact that perspective taking and choosing to allow different opinions to comfortably reside in your own state of awareness is extremely motivating and stimulating. About half of the time, the opinions that you can choose to open up to and internalize are going to be boosting your own intellectual capacity. It's going to improve your ability to understand yourself by actually taking in constructive feedback from the world all around you. Because remember, there is always some truth to somebody else's opinion. While it might not be the whole truth, there's always some value that you can derive if you choose to see an opinion as something that can actually allow you to bolster your sense of knowingness, awareness, and understanding about yourself and the reality around you. So if you take it from that particular angle of choosing to understand that opinions are actually gifts, they are tools in the toolkit of your own consciousness that allows you to see where something either needs to be blended or modified in your own inner perspective to allow in that higher level opinion. And if you let yourself be fluid with opinions in general, this process is going to be far less painful than it would be if you're initially closed off and think that your opinions are superior to all others in reality. The other interesting thing that we need to understand about opinions is that all of your inner trauma is based on an opinionated nature of yourself. This too is why the ego is so incredibly threatened by higher level opinions. Like if I were to tell you, for example, that you are healed as soon as you decide to formulate the opinion with which you hold utmost confidence that you are an individual harboring integrity, coherence, and congruence of your being at the levels of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual conscious experience. Would you actually experience that truth? Or would you feel like you need to clash against it? So if you see my opinion that you are a healed individual as something that cannot possibly be established, that's either revealing that you don't want to believe in that opinion, or you're still far away from allowing yourself to subconsciously believe in that truth, which means some work needs to be done on establishing that coherence or congruency between these different fields of your awareness. But in order to actually achieve that coherence, you first would need to allow yourself to honor that that opinion can be true for you if you choose to align with it, using your conscious mastery and allowing yourself to actually build that bridge to making that opinion your truth. As another example, if I were to tell you that you're absolutely deserving of unconditional love, and right now, you think that's a completely subjective opinion that you don't want to believe in, then you need to allow yourself to understand what parts of you are clashing with that opinion that love is something that is in the cards for you. Whatever other opinions come up are just that. Limiting beliefs, certain internal factors, biases, or conditional notions of what love is that can be effectively demolished if you allow yourself to introduce the higher level, more integrative opinion that love is possible for you. Because the integrative opinions about reality are all non-dual notions of what can exist when we choose to integrate. To give you another example, we all can exist in unity. That is a fact, but to many that is an opinion. Many see reality as a dystopian playground in which duality is the only thing that is possible for the human race. For those people, they find every opportunity to clash against another opinion because they are fervently defending this notion that duality is the only undertone that can exist in this simulation. These people are the reason why opinions maintain this very charged notion, and we often think that love is not possible, or unity, or a utopian kind of a reality in which unity consciousness is the active ingredient at play, is impossible because there are always those souls that are unwilling to adopt love. They are unwilling to let in the concept of unity because they're so severely fragmented from within that unity seems to be at the opposite bay of their own awareness. Now, for us that can embody that opinion as the ultimate truth of why we are here, we need to start to honor the understanding that those individuals that are not able to honor the higher truth of love and universal consciousness are also the reason why we are experiencing this shared reality with them. Because whenever we feel like there's something that cannot be reconciled due to some external factor outside of us, we are pressed from within to understand that need for change is imminent. Right now, we're experiencing a reality in which duality and these disparate opposites are so blatantly obvious that we need to choose to adopt love in spite of it all. We need to not succumb under the pressure of thinking that disunity, duality, and warfare and chaos and opposition are the only options in the simulation. Because actually, the more that we think that is the only reality that can exist, the more the opposite is called for. We need to not see the external reality as the proof that nothing else can exist outside of it, because that too is an opinion. What you believe is externally reflected as the only option is a reflection of the dominant opinion in your own subconscious mind. So if you, for instance, think that this reality is unchanging, invariable, and completely fixed to whatever notions have already created it, that is your opinion that prevents you from creating change. If you believe that you cannot do anything about this world that we live in, that you are prone to suffering, that you are doomed in some shape or form, and these opinions are scripting your reality to the extent that you don't even think you have the active ability to co-create or to change the role that you experience on a daily basis, because you have been stripping your own free will out of the equation. Now, I understand this might be a triggering thing for you to hear, but believe me, this is the most liberating thing that I can tell you, because whatever you feel is stopping you, limiting you, or like it is out of your possession, is actually helping you identify from the deepest angle of your own subconscious mind why you think that is impossible for you. And so that right there is an opportunity for a new opinion to be created. Whatever you currently feel is a gap in your reality, internally or externally for that matter, that cannot be bridged, that space in between is where a new opinion must be birthed. That opinion can be something that allows you to uphold the values that you truly want to see birthed in the collective consciousness. These are opinions that would reflect what your higher self would want to be experiencing here, if only you allow your ego to neutralize that judgment, that divisive nature, that rejection of what actually is possible from the higher dimensional vantage point, to allow in the opinions that would restore unity and would restore that ability for you to heal naturally within yourself, because that is the function of divine intelligence. As soon as you remove all of those corrosive opinions that create pain, rejection, suffering, and anger within yourself, you can actually allow yourself to be in this space of divine neutrality. And that's where you reach this equilibrious point in which order is naturally created. Because there is one opinion that doesn't actually need to be believed in. It could simply be tested. It can be experimented with. If you don't believe it, allow yourself to simply go to this place of separating yourself from your own hyper-opinionated nature to see what happens when you allow non-duality to take its natural course. When you separate yourself from your own egoic consciousness and allow yourself to experiment with the flow, neutrality, and graceful state of being that's found in that 0 point of your own field, what you'll start to experience is new information and new energy allowing for the restoration of order in your field. This is akin to the experience of morphic resonance, or this divine coherence precipitating in your own personal field, which allows you to experience the return back to your set point. It's like the beginning and the end begin to converge, and whatever chaos or disruptions or fragments were created in the in-between space are naturally healed when you allow that healing to ensue. You don't always need new opinions in order to figure out how to create healing, how to bring about divine justice, how to allow for restoration, even if you think there's so many physical and tangible factors that make it impossible to love, to forgive, to create unity. All you need to do is to allow yourself to witness the opinions that have been creating that duality in your life and to allow a different option to exist. You don't always need to even have an opinion about why things are the way that they are. You can simply allow divine order to start to run its own course by believing that there actually is a higher plan at play, and that these opinions that have been limiting you are not really meant to. Opinions are meant to create growth, opportunity, and once you allow yourself to be run by the heart instead of the mind, a new order of opinions is going to be shaped up. You're going to realize that the higher self has far more valuable and intangible opinions about reality, which comes through the deep energetic confidence in the power of love, in your ability to integrate, in that deep opportunity to forgive, to let go, to surrender, to create change, to quantum jump by completely shifting states of consciousness as soon as you allow yourself to uphold this more wise, non-dual reasoning, which is always available to you. As soon as you stop trying to be right over wrong, as soon as you stop needing to judge in order to prove your simple sense of self, which is really rooted on illusion, and you choose to allow for that authentic essence to be in control of your experience, which allows that logical and opinionated mind to come in second place or perhaps third place, where it doesn't need to assert itself so dominantly because you allow trust and that higher stream of consciousness to take over through you. I encourage you to think about what opinions you feel are the ones in control of your entire reality, and which you feel need to change in order for you to adopt a more loving course of action. Where are your opinions currently blockading that destined plan that you want to see in effect? What opinions are not allowing you to experience love? What limiting beliefs, which are actually opinions, are you defending out of a deeply rooted fear of actually departing from attachment to those opinions? Because whatever you want to have change is connected to some opinion that either you cannot create that change or change is not imminent because you don't really want to. This, my friends, is the nature of opinions. They are going to either help you construct the road to your destiny, or they're going to limit you in connection to this karmic fate that you want to try to rub against, create more friction toward, or even try to battle, because you don't want to see that opinions are that golden intermediary, which is actually where your consciousness can create whatever recalibration it wants to, if only you believe in the power of an integrative opinion, which is the highest learning lesson for all of us here to experience. So I challenge you to experiment with what it feels like to embody the opinions of a higher mind, of the heart's consciousness, of your oversoul or your higher self, or even source, observing the entirety of what's happening here on planet Earth or in your individual life, and to see if anything would change about your state of this opinionated nature that often rules your reality. Do some of those opinions seem almost comical, and like unnecessary variables that can easily be departed from if you choose to look at it from that higher vantage point. Let yourself go there. Let yourself soar above the opinionated state and eventually even leave with this integrative perspective where more opinions naturally evolve out of your allowance and understanding that opinions are always secondary to the stream of consciousness, which is love, that should be ruling our reality.